Hey, everybody, welcome to the Jim Masters Show, entertainment, lifestyle, variety talk show series. This is your host, Jim Masters. Look at your screen. We've got an extraordinary musical icon joining us, responsible for decades and decades of some of your favorite songs done by the most incomparable artists of our time. We're talking Holly Knight. She herself, a fabulous singer and musician, but she has penned some of the most incredible music of our time. The songwriter behind some of pop culture's most iconic songs is stopping by the Jim Masters Show. And if you see the screen there too, she's got a new book out, I Am the Warrior. Yeah. And she is going to be with us in just a second. Coming to us from Los Angeles, California. She's originally an East Coast girl. She grew up in New York, as did I. We've got kindred spirits in that way, but she is in LA and she's going to be coming actually to New York, performing, which is real cool. So I'll give you details on that. How's everybody doing? Welcome to our entertainment, lifestyle, variety talk show series, where we're bringing back the lost art of conversation. And we're doing it in style with extraordinary guests who come in. Some are celebrity friends, people I've interviewed on television and radio over the years, coming in from Hollywood and Broadway, television, film, music, stage, culinary arts, sports, comedy, inspiration, and everything in between. We have hundreds and hundreds of episodes that you guys can binge watch on our YouTube channel, Jim Masters TV. That's what houses all of these fantastic episodes. And we say happy holidays. It's really, we are in the thick of the holiday season right now. So it is awesome to have you here during the holiday time. Our set is it is popping with holiday spirit. So we hope you guys are having a great holiday season. And we say hello to our JMS Lovity family. That's right. The Lovities are the diehard viewers who watch our show all the time. They share the links. They write messages. They support what we're doing here, bringing back the lost art of conversation in style. And again, as I mentioned, we've got a really cool guest who's joining us. We talk about her book and some of the incredible accomplishments and accolades. Of course, she was inducted in 2013 in the Songwriters Hall of Fame, and rightfully so. And she's a great person. What I love about her too, with all of this glitz and glamour, she's authentic, she's real, she's humble. And she really appreciates everything that has come her way through her blood, sweat, and tears. And I think that's very refreshing and very, very cool. You guys are great. If you'd like to comment while the show is on live, guess what? You can. How do you do that? Well, we have a JMS Lovity chat room that's open and available right now. We've got a ton of comments already built up. Thanks for that. Thanks for the passion and enthusiasm for what we're doing here and for our very special guest. If you'd like to comment, just subscribe to the YouTube channel right now. That's Jim Masters TV. Doesn't cost you anything. Just hit that red subscribe button, click that notification bell, so you are alerted about all our great guests and episodes and all the fun we have here. Do that right now, and you can comment, say hello to each other. We might even sprinkle a comment or two on the screen while the show is on. And if you miss any of our episodes, they're all archived on a YouTube channel, hundreds of episodes, almost 900 to be exact. So subscribe to the YouTube channel right now, so that way there, it doesn't cost anything. You hit the red button and you're in. You're a JMS Lovity member when you do that. And really cool. You have an opportunity to say hello to one another and to us here on the show. As I mentioned, we've got an amazing guest who has supplied some of the most iconic music. The songs, not just, music you hear on the radio and elsewhere, but for film, for television, and so much more. We're talking about the incomparable Holly Knight. And when I was doing research for the show, I've been a fan of her work for years. There were so many additional nuggets that I discovered that I even forgot about that she has her stamp on. A vital force behind some of rock's most powerful female artists as well. Holly Knight's iconic musical imprint is truly woven into the very fabric of the MTV generation. That's right. Throughout the 1980s, singer, songwriter, musician extraordinaire Holly Knight composed anthems that became the soundtrack for millions of people's lives, and also created and crafted empowering odes to independence, liberation, and equality. These universal themes have never been more relevant than they are today, which is why we still hear her music every day on television, films, and commercials. Holly Knight's work has become not just ubiquitous, but also generation defining. And for all of the dozens of recognizable songs she has written, however, working with legends including Rod Stewart, Kiss, Aerosmith, it was her collaborations with a female artist that truly broke through, giving a new voice to women all over the world, defiant, purposeful, and ultimately triumphant. Her work with Tina Turner, Pat Benatar, and the band Heart, among many others, also helped pave the way for the next generation of defining female musical masters, including Amy Winehouse, Adele, and Lady Gaga. It was the music and words that she wrote, but it was also the visual representations on MTV that helped define Holly's work for the masses. Songs like Love is a Battlefield, Better Be Good to Me, The Best, yeah, Never, My Obsession, Ragdoll. Her songs have also appeared in movies as varied as Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, Thelma and Louise, 13 going on 30, Anchorman 2, yeah, Dallas Buyers Club, The Other Woman, been featured on TV shows including Schitt's Creek, Glow, Stranger Things, The Masked Singer, Saturday Night Live, The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon, American Idol, The Voice, The Simpsons, South Park, and Family Guy. That's right. That's just to name a few, gang. Not one to sit back on her laurels, Holly is still as passionate and driven about music as she was in her late teens, thriving on diversity. It's her ability to move from one genre to the next that's given her this 40-year plus career in music. And as I mentioned, 2013 Songwriters Hall of Fame, noticed incredible track record, and she was inducted in, and the legacy continues, and all the music continues as well, gang. She is truly an American icon, a musical icon, an international icon, really, when you think about it, with all of the music that she is responsible for, which we're going to talk about. And again, she knows how to write a good song. There's the book. We're going to talk about the book, and we congratulate her. This has been a labor of love. This book is hot off the presses. It just came out. So we're going to talk about that. But just again, some of the people that she's had an opportunity to work with and to pen material for is extraordinary. Some of your favorite songs, gang. I know you're probably singing them already as we're talking about them, working. And that, when you pen a good song, it also helps the artists and it helps their careers take off and or blossom. And again, she's worked with some of the greats, and she is one of the greats herself. Of course, we saw this in college at LIU in New York when Patti Smythe came to the school and she performed that song and everybody was on their feet. She's worked with Elvira, Bonnie Tyler, some others too as well. Yeah. Obsession and Emotion and Hawk Nelson. Hey, what about this? Glow. Yep, she's got music. She's responsible for there too, as I mentioned. It's Creek and Stranger Things, Still Standing. The title theme to that CBS series. That's her. Yeah. Mad Max, of course, Beyond the Thunderdome, as I mentioned, and so many others, 13 going on 30. She herself was part of the group Spider. Yep. We're going to talk about that as well. And here's some photos from Device. Really cool. We dug up some really cool stuff. In her book, there's a lot of rare photos too, and you're going to just love it. There's a fantastic shot of her. And of course, she has her own music too. You can get on Spotify and all the rest. Yeah, you're in for it. You're in for a treat as we welcome her to the Jim Masters Show series. And again, she's at her home in Los Angeles, California. Guys and gals, put your hands together and join me in welcoming a very special guest gracing us with her presence and her wit and wisdom, the one and only Holly Knight on the Jim Masters Show. Holly, welcome to the show. It's an honor and pleasure to have you here.
Thank you for having me. It's really a pleasure.
Oh, I tell you, I cannot believe When I was doing the research, I knew the body of work and the amount of it, but does it ever surprise you when you look back and you just see the material and look at that resume of yours and it's just we're talking about 40 plus years of touching the lives, the hearts and souls of so many people, people that grew up with the music, people that have gotten married to the music, dated to the music, whatever the case may be, these special moments in their lives. And that music, all of this material is still going strong today.
Yeah, it's amazing that it's in some cases even stronger. If you look at, say, Tina Turner, uh, who I wrote the best at the end of the decade of the 80s, which my book is very focused on that one time period. That's why it has the subtitles, My Crazy Life, Rocking the Hits, or no, I can't even remember, it's so long. My Crazy Life, Writing the Hits and Rocking the MTV 80s.
Yes.
That the song The Best is bigger now than it was then, and because she's had such terrific success lately. I mean, last year, Tina had the documentary on HBO,
Yes.
and then she had, she got inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame last year, about time.
Yes.
And she did a special edition, which I wrote liner notes for, of Foreign Affair, which I had 4 songs on. They asked me to write a liner note for that, and it ended up being 2,000 words. And they didn't ask anyone else. I was kind of surprised when I got the package. I was so honored because the only person she had asked to write liner notes was me. So, and then
Wow.
she had the musical, which I actually invested in. I have a bunch of songs in it, but I invested in it too. And then the pandemic happened. But no, I mean, all these TV shows are just adoring music from the 80s. And not to say that I've continued to write and do many things since the 80s, but I really wanted to focus on that in my book. And just, it was sort of a love letter to the 80s, and that time period, which was just so excessive and abundant and crazy and, all of the above, for me.
You grew up in New York. What were some of the influences for you? Did you come from a musical family? Growing up, what was it like for you to start to really garner this interest in music and performance and the arts?
I just think I arrived on the planet with a creative soul, as woo as that sounds. I truly believe that. Everybody in my family were doctors. My father was a doctor. He was an anesthesiologist. My grandmother and my grandfather were eye surgeons. And nobody in my family was a musical at all. Um, but my mother loved music and she wanted to take piano lessons. And, I used to listen to her but hacking away at the piano, and
Mm.
I would be playing any surface I could possibly touch, whether it was my legs or my dresser or whatever. And I just wanted to, it just was so natural to me. And when she would leave the room, I would climb up on the bench. My feet wouldn't even reach the floor, but I would sit down and just pick out the tunes all the time. So really, music was my first language. I think it was just such a natural thing for me. And, um, you know, I could just follow that. I followed that path ever since, my whole life.
What came first for you? Was it the performer or was it the songwriter? Were you the singer first and going out to want to become the singer, or were you writing songs, penning material first? What came first for
That's
you?
a really good question. No, I didn't know that I had the abilities to be a songwriter. I thought of myself as a musician, and I then took classical piano for 10 years. I started when I was 4, and my mother wanted me to be a concert pianist, frankly. She was really grooming me for that. And then I discovered rock music, and the louder the better. And at that point, I just wanted to be a rock star. And in fact, I write about this in the book, that there was one point where I went to a concert when I was quite young. I think I was about 16 or 17, and the Beach Boys were playing. And I went up to the front of the stage and I was waving at Mike Love to let me on the stage. I mean, I was out of my mind. I hadn't even planned it. And the next thing I knew, he pulled me on the stage and walked me over to a keyboard, and they were playing Good Vibrations. And I remember he was yelling the chords out to me, and I kind of looked at him smart ass, and I said, I know the chords, you know. But I remember looking out into the audience and just thinking, this is amazing. I've got to be doing this. I've got to be up here. And, you know, it's a different view from the stage than it is from out in the audience. So that was quite impactful for me. And then I joined after. I write about this in the book, but a lot of things, different things happened. I left home when I was 15 and traveled around, and I moved back to the city. And that's really when my career started. And my only goal was to join a band, which I did. I helped form the band, actually, which was a band called Spider. And we had one agenda, and the agenda was to write original material, get a record deal, get signed, tour, and take over the world. So we did everything but the last one.
There you are on the screen too. Good looking group.
Yeah. And the middle guy is Anton Fig, who became quite well known as a drummer. I mean, he's an amazing drummer. And he ended up being on the Letterman show for about 20 years, but he ghosted on a lot of the Kiss records, and he's played on tons of records. We were all like really good musicians. Even then I knew that. And everybody was trying to write. And I thought, well, their songs are okay. They're not great. They're not the kind of songs that'll get us on the radio. So I started to write almost by default, and literally stumbled on songwriting. You know, I realized that I was actually pretty good at it. And because I kept picking my songs for the singles and stuff. And then eventually I left the band, and I had a mentor who talked me into moving out to the West Coast. And I did. And that's really when I decided, you know, I'm not going to be in a band anymore. I'm just going to devote myself full time to writing songs for other people, because I liked it. I had a little taste of it. One of the songs that I wrote for Spider on the second record became the second single on Tina Turner's Private Dancer. And so I had a little taste of that. I had a few others. I wrote a song called Change that John Waite did. And then the next thing I ended up writing with Mike Chapman. He was a producer, like a number one producer that had done so many number one records with Blondie, and he did My Sharona with the Knack, and Hot Child in the City with Nick Gilder, and on and on and on. And he was also a terrific songwriter. Like he wrote Heart and Soul for, I don't know I think he wrote it for Exile, but then it became a big hit for Huey Lewis and the News.
Mm-hmm.
I love that song. But so he became my mentor, and I had originally signed to his record label. So that's how I knew him. And you know, he said to me, there's so many terrific musicians, and you're a great musician, but being a songwriter is different. He said, it's like the royalty in the business. If you're able to write hit songs, and you are, he said, I would go with that, you know? So I did.
What was the very first song that you wrote? And the very first song that you wrote, did you have it published? Did it make it out to the public, or do you still have that tucked away in a drawer somewhere? The very first one that you penned yourself?
No, the very first song I penned I never tried to get covered. I mean, I had bits and the little bits of songs, but as far as writing like real songs, I only started doing that in Spider. And I would say that Changes, the one that John Waite did, is probably one of the earliest songs I wrote. And it's one of my favorite to this day, you know. And then I wrote a song called New Romance, which was a single for Spider. That was one of my earliest songs. And, you know, there's not a whole lot of difference between what I was doing then and what I do now. You know, maybe the craft is a little bit more of a finessed.
Right.
But the stuff that you can't teach someone, it was all there back then. You know, even when I was 4, I was playing Mozart sonatas. I was kind of a freak, you know. And that made me very much a loner. I didn't really have a lot of friends growing up, because if I wasn't doing homework, I had to come home and practice piano. And I loved doing it. I could immerse myself in hours. I would get up before I'd go to school, even when I was in kindergarten, I remember. And I would play and drive everybody in the house nuts because no one could sleep. And then I'd come home, and then I would start pounding on the piano again when I came home till dinner. And I don't know, it was a source of comfort for me too, because I had a rough childhood, and it was always the place that I wanted to escape to, you know.
So you created your own world. I've talked to so many people over the years who are in the arts, and you talk to comedians, you talk to painters, you talk to sculptors, musicians, and a lot of times the what they're doing, their craft that they hone and they develop is a form of like creating their only world, or a world for themselves, an escape from maybe some of the reality of what they're seeing going on in their world. So music for you was sort of the creation of your own world, huh?
Very much so. I mean, like a bubble almost, and is still the same to this day.
Right.
I mean,
You
it
still,
really,
yeah.
when I go into my studio, I'm in my studio right now.
It's
Um,
fantastic too.
Thank you. It's a big 3-car garage, and I converted it into a studio, and you can't really see, but I'm sitting at my piano, and I've had this piano since I was 11. And I write about that in the book, the day that I went to get this piano. It's a Steinway grand, and my grandmother and my father took me there and waited the whole day while I went and played about 30 pianos.
Did you
And
also go
then
to Steinway in
Mhm.
Astoria?
No, it was across from, Carnegie Hall on 57th
Oh,
Street.
yeah. Mm,
Yeah.
wow.
So, but yeah, if I come in to play, before I sort of record it and before I send it out or let anyone hear it, really I'm in my own bubble, creating, and it's a private thing, like people have, sometimes say, well, "Can I come watch you?" And it's like, "No, can I come watch you have sex?"
Right, right, exactly, yeah. That's a
It's
good
just
I'm gonna
it's
use that line next time.
right?
That's good.
But, the thing is, I've also done things like taught myself how to engineer, and program Pro Tools, do all that stuff so that I don't have to have extra people in the room watching, because I figure knowledge is power. And the more that you know and you equip yourself with, it's just another tool in your toolbox you can do, and be sort of on your own. And it just gives you more independence.
So, coming up the ranks, what were some of the music and who's some of the people that you admired and you enjoyed that maybe influenced you along the way, Holly?
Well, I God, there's quite a few, but I was a huge fan of Led Zeppelin and The Doors. I kind of liked The Doors for their darkness and the low voice, and I had such a crush on Jim Morrison in the early days. And then there was the Stones. There were obviously the Beatles, which everybody loved, but I kind of leaned more towards the Stones because I felt like lyrically they were just a little bit more sort of rock and roll to me. Not to take away from the Beatles. But I was really into that. As I got older, uh, I got into groups like Queen and Aerosmith. I mean, the amazing thing is that I've gotten to work with some of these bands that I grew up listening to, like Heart and definitely Aerosmith. They were one of them. I was greatly influenced by Todd Rundgren. I mean, my sort of exposure to music is vast. Growing up, I listened to Ravi Shankar. I would go see Ravi Shankar concerts with my mother. I listened to a lot of classical. I listened to jazz. But then when I discovered rock, I just, for me, like the power of the drums, and the electric guitar, it was something visceral and like powerful about that the other music didn't have. You know, like kick drum, heavy guitar. It just, you know, it
Yeah.
just did something for me. Hendrix. I used to listen to groups like Mountain. I don't know if you remember
Oh,
that.
yeah. Sure.
Then I got into Ozzy Osbourne and all the dark stuff, and but I was also a huge fan of some very light music, for the beauty of it. Whether it was Burt Bacharach, Hal David songs, and the Carpenters, Joni Mitchell. I absolutely like. I kind of learned how to play guitar playing Joni Mitchell tunes, and um, so it was pretty varied. Mamas and Papas.
Yeah.
Uh, I don't know. It was very, very broad. I had a
Very
very broad.
eclectic mix of,
Sure.
yeah.
Frank
Oh, that
Zappa
would,
even. I listen to a lot of Frank Zappa, believe it or not.
yeah, absolutely. Sure. Yeah. Influences. What are some of the things that inspire you? I mean, your material is when you hear it, it sticks with you. You come up with the material that really gets to the heart, gets to the soul, gets us wanting to move, gets us wanting to live and enjoy life and experience life, which is no easy task to master. So where do you pull your inspiration from? I know some people say they're a facilitator of energy, they're a conduit, and I'm sure some of that is there. But what are some other things that are a source of inspiration for you when you're tasked with coming up with a song?
Um, Life, and I've taught some master classes here and there, and I've given this exercise to people that is really helpful. And I tell them, like, for the next 24 hours, and I don't do this all the time, but if I'm in sort of a writing mode and I know I'm going to be writing for something or a project, I'll even do this, and I'll just sort of prick up my awareness and my ears. And no matter what is happening around me, if I hear something that sounds like it could be a good title, I write it down. And then I make a list that at the end of 24 hours, some of it maybe isn't a good title, might be a good line in a song, but some of it it'll give me a blueprint of something to write about. And once I have a blueprint, then it's much easier, instead of just sort of sitting down and going, oh, what am I going to write about today? So I also write what I know, or something that maybe I went through, or maybe in my imagination I went through it. There's all kinds of sources that I kind of pull from. And I know a lot of people, other writers, say that they feel like conduits. And the way I feel, I wrote about this in the book.
Yeah.
The Ouija board, and you
Sure.
play.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
absolutely.
the thing that's sort of that heart-shaped wooden piece that you put your fingers on, and it kind of leads you around. I
Right.
kind of think of writing as akin to something like that. So, except that instead of a Ouija board, I use a guitar or a keyboard, and I just sit down, and then it's almost like my fingers have a mind of their own. Um, whether I'm playing guitar or bass, and they just kind of it's being led by something, some force
Mm,
that's sort of inexplicable.
yeah.
But I don't feel like I'm just a conduit, because that would mean it just runs through me and comes out, and I'm just sort of, in the middle there. I feel like it's a partnership where every experience and who I am and my essence and whatever I'm going through is part of that, and together you move into a direction that, it's almost like you have to chase it, then it's there. And then once you have the meat of a song, you just basically render it. You put it down really quick so you don't forget it.
What,
And that's
what,
just my process.
that's a great process. What comes to you first? Is it the lyric or is it the melody?
It's all of the above. I mean, I don't have any one way of doing things. Sometimes I might sit down and play a groove or something, or a bass line. I write a lot of bass lines. It's interesting because this is all in the book. Like, you get
Yeah.
so many parts, you get all the juicy, provocative stuff, but you also get tips on writing, or what my process is. There's so many different things. Like you said, that I pretty much cover everything. But so I'm always sort of like a musician first, in a way. Like, lyrics is much more tedious. It takes so much more concentration, so much more work, and so
Yeah.
much whittling away. Um, but if I'm playing a lick and then I look at that list and I go, oh, this is a good marriage of this with this, then I'm off to the races. And then I just start phonetically mumbling stuff as I go along. And a lot of it should go with the rhythm of the rhythm that I'm playing. Um, it's funny because I never thought about this stuff. I've never had to articulate it until I started teaching master classes, but also writing the book. And I wasn't taught it, but I'm able to articulate what works for me and could work for a lot of other people.
You've had an opportunity to work, still work with a lot of great people, but you've worked with iconic people in the industry. And as I said earlier, it is like a team, because even some of the artists who may have already have these incredible track records and record sales and popularity and love of, fandom and all of that, when you pen something that becomes a hit that people really latch onto, it takes that artist that's already beloved and brings them into another level of the stratosphere. So, you're responsible for that, for, the acceleration of your work and your career. But at the same time, the person that's going to be performing it is also elevated. The Warrior, Patti Smythe. I mean, that song, as I'm saying it, I'm hearing it. It's the kind of song that I hear in my head. The whole thing, I can hear it because it really sticks with you. And I got a chance to see her actually do it when she came to our college in New York, at LIU, and perform it live. And everybody was on their feet. And it's one of those songs that when you hear it pop on the radio or whatever, it may bring people back to a certain time in their life, but you're moving to it. What was it like penning that song?
Well, I wrote that song with Nick Gilder, who did Hot Child in the City. And we
Right.
were asked to write a song for her because Mike Chapman was producing a record for her. And so we wrote a great song. And then I remember giving it to Mike. Again, this is in the book. I won't tell you the whole story, but we gave it to him and he didn't respond the way I was hoping. I thought it was a hit. And he was like, yeah, it's good. And I was just like devastated, So I thought, all right. And in the meantime, Nick was kind of relieved because he wanted to keep it for himself at this point. And then a week later, Mike called me back. He said, that Warrior tune that you sent me? Can you send it back to me? He says, I want to cut it. I think it's a hit. I want to cut it with Patti. And Nick didn't want to give it to her. So this sort of situation ensued. But long story short, she cut it. He made sure of that. And I think Nick's very happy now. And I keep telling him he should cut it. But and by the way, I'm going to be in New York next week for a couple of weeks. And I'm doing a gig at a place called the Cutting Room
Great
to
place.
celebrate my book release. Yeah. And I'm hoping Patty's going to stop by and sing. So that would be pretty amazing if she does.
Oh, yeah. There's the book there, folks. It really is an absolute page turner. Another, and again, thanks for penning that song, because that really is a great song. All of the material. Pat Benatar, how did the relationship with Pat Benatar come your way? Incredible
I
song.
just was at the right place in the right place at the right time. I was at Mike's house to write. I just moved over to Los Angeles from New York.
Yeah.
And we got together that day to write. And then he got a phone call. And I didn't know who he was talking to. He was laughing and he took forever on the phone, but I heard him say my name and he said, oh, I'm here with Holly Knight. And yeah, that's right. She wrote Change for John Waite. Better be good to me. Yes. And I'm like, who is he talking to? So when he hung up, I asked him and he said it was Pat Benatar. So we wrote, it's a funny story. It's one of my favorite stories in the book because we wrote that song mostly the first day, except for one line. And the story behind that is actually pretty funny. And it wasn't that we couldn't think of in the chorus. We had one line we had to finish. We had like 100 lines, but we just weren't happy with them. And we just knew it had to be something. We weren't reinventing the wheel, but it had to be something that sounded like it had always belonged there.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, so we sent it to her and the rest was history. She had a hit with it. But, this was happening more and more. Around that time was when Tina Turner cut Better Be Good to Me. That started a career with her. I mean, she's cut 9 songs of mine over the years. And, it's funny. It's like once I started to have a hit, it's just like I just kept moving forward. I never looked back, And
Yes.
I've been really lucky because it has been 40 years of really enjoying. I mean, I have the best job in the world, I think.
That went by in a New York minute. Absolutely.
Yeah.
How did the creation of MTV at the time when you were penning this material, writing, co-writing, how did that merge so incredibly? I mean, the timing for all of this was extraordinary. And again, it was like the MTV generation was created. And when MTV came out, everybody had it. And if they didn't have it, I want my MTV. Everybody was watching it and with the videos that were going with it. How did that aid in or assist with, or how were you able to maximize that whole situation that was happening concurrent to what you were creating?
Are you talking about the MTV, the combination of the videos
The
and
whole thing, yeah, the timing of the MTV being created with at
right.
the time when you're pumping out all this great music. Yeah.
Is the best thing that it could have happened to me personally was the advent of MTV because I was sort of like a bee flitting from flower to flower as far as different groups, and I guess I just picked the right bands, or they picked me because they were all getting played on MTV. They were all very popular, um, so that has a lot to do with it. Whether it was Heart or Kiss or Bon Jovi or my own band, which was Device. MTV embraced us with that one. Tina Turner, Pat Benatar. Uh, there was a really big video with this group Animotion, if you remember that song Obsession. And
Yes. Yes,
everything
I
was
love
just so quintessentially 80s that, my style just seemed to work with it because my songs tend to be quite dramatic and visual or cinematic. And that kind of gelled really well with the use of videos. And there was just, I want to say too that there, it was a crazy time. I mean, they would put anything in a video. You could see a cow walking through a road. I remember with Obsession. I remember there were Romans in togas serving hors d'oeuvres at a pull,
Right.
and I mean, I had no idea what, or if you ever saw the
Yeah.
video to The
Right.
Warrior, it's insane.
Yes.
Oh my
Yeah.
God. And I always thought it was like like a ridiculous video, to be honest. Um,
Yeah.
she had, it looked like, I said this in the book, it looked like, like Patty had been struck across the face by a lightning bolt or something.
Right.
And, here it was like 20 years later, and I saw Patty, she inducted me into the rock and roll, sorry, the Songwriters Hall of Fame. And she performed The Warrior. And I said, let me ask you something. And she goes, what? And I said, were you happy with that video of The Warrior? I mean, what did you think of that video? And she said, I hated it. And we just laughed so hard because she just sort of walked in and the makeup guy came in and just kind of took over. But that's part of the charm of MTV are those crazy, silly years. I mean, I thought the video to Love is a Battlefield, again, same thing, the fact that Pat Benatar was sort of like a escort or a hooker in a bar or whatever. I'm like, what?
Right.
Remember the part where
Exactly.
she threw the liquor into this one
Yeah.
guy's face? I think
Yeah.
he was the choreographer. I read that somewhere that he
So
was.
when they were doing the videos, since it's your material, did you have a say? Were you able to have a say in what the video would be like, or was
Oh
that
no,
no? Huh?
no. I mean, first of all, I didn't even have a say on what how they were produced and recorded. So many times I would get back a song, and I did actually talk about this with Love is a Battlefield, that what Mike and I had written and demoed and sent to them, and what we got back was very, very different. And it took us a while to get used to that. But as the song went up the charts, we learned to love it. So
Right.
and now looking back on it, I mean, it is somewhat a little bit different, but all the elements were there in the song. And I was going to say for people that are interested that my audiobook also came out the same day as
Oh,
the hardcover book.
fantastic.
And they asked me to narrate it, so I
Oh,
did it. But there's
perfect.
an extra little bonus there. There's demos of some of my biggest songs on the audio version. Like, so there's a demo for Love is a Battlefield and for The Best and The Warrior. And what I wanted to say, and I'm very proud of this, is that everything, all the elements were there. You can hear it. You can hear it on the demos. Maybe, the production would change from time to time, but not that often. And I think people are always amazed if I play it to them. They're like, wow.
Yeah. Huh? Absolutely. What was the process of writing the book like for you? You mean there are autobiographies and then there are memoirs. This is really like a memoir, right?
Exactly. And
Yeah.
this was explained to me when I first set out to write.
The difference. Yeah.
There's the difference. Okay. So with an autobiography, you have to be 100% factual and accurate. If not, you can get, I don't know, lawsuits or whatever. But a memoir is how the person writing it remembers it, and it is still factual. It's just that, how you remember something, you just have a little bit more leeway, and not to be so worried that if you don't say the exact, the time that it was recorded, when it was recorded, where it was recorded, it allows you to be just a little bit more entertaining too,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. What was the process like? Sometimes some people say it's harder to start writing and start putting those first words on the page, while others will say knowing when to wrap it up and be comfortable and know when to put the last period on the last sentence is very hard because especially when you're dealing with an epic career like yours and there's so much material to have to sift through and decipher and include and edit out. So capping it for some people is hard. And then I had one person say to me something I never heard before. And they said what was hard for them when they wrote a book was the middle, was joining the beginning that they had in their mind with the ending that they had in their mind and sort of finding the bridge between the two. For you, what was the process like?
Um, can you elaborate a little more? I'm not sure what the question was.
So when you're writing the book and you have this idea, okay, I'm going to write a book, what was harder, getting started and putting those first few words on the page and getting rolling, or finishing the book, knowing when you were comfortable to say, I'm done. That's everything we're going to share right now. I'm going to put the period on the last sentence. Was it harder
Uh-huh.
to get it going or harder to finish it and be satisfied with what you have finished?
Oh, that's a really good question, Jim. I actually wrote twice what the book ended up being. And I have to say that I had an amazing editor who said, a lot of the stuff is just like trim off, just stick to the point. Part of the problem is that a lot of memoirs or autobiographies are
Right.
really long, and they start out with a bang, but then they get more factual, and I think it exhausts people. And there's so many great memoirs out there that just sort of, it's the same thing with writing songs. I might write a song and then I have to trim off the parts that don't really serve the song. So I tried to stick to a certain style, and then I turned it over to my editor, who of course helped me slice it up completely. And in fact, I had an afterword that was so much longer because someone said, "Oh no, you should write a really long afterwards." He said, "No, you said it all, and you focused on this time period." And then afterwards, I sort of said, "Okay, I did this and I did this and I had children and all this afterwards, but the story is really over here." So, and I spent about 2 years writing it. I let myself take time to do it. I wasn't in a rush to get it out or anything. I just, I wanted it to be a good read in the end. And then I started organizing it. So each chapter is about a song and some artists that I worked with.
Mhm.
So there's one on Pat Benatar, there's one on Bon Jovi, there's one on Rod Stewart and Aerosmith, and um, yeah, I've been told it's a juicy and provocative read. The dedication was really important to me, and it says to anyone whoever had a dream and was told no.
Mhm.
Um, and that was me. So I just want people to know that you only listen to the inner voice inside of you, or anybody that supports you in an honest way. And the naysayers, just leave them behind, because had I listened, in fact, I had someone while I was about to write the book who told me that they had talked to someone that was a publisher, and they said they read the book proposal and they were like, "Well, she's not a household name, so it doesn't matter that it's good." So I stopped for like a year and a half. I just thought, okay, I won't write a book. And then I kind of stood and said, no, everybody's saying I should write a book and I want to write a book, so I'm going to. Um,
You know
so
what's cool about it is you write about it, you could see that you are, as much as you are this incredibly talented person, you are a fan and appreciate the work of the people that you've had the opportunity to work with. And you get that vibe, you get that feeling throughout the book, which I think is unique and quite special, Holly.
wow. Well, thank you. I think everybody needs to be appreciated for what they bring to the table, and nobody can do anything alone. So, there might be a person at the forefront that's getting all the credit, but, it's like they say, it takes a village to raise a child. Well, to write a book, oh my God, and this was a learning process as I went along. So my editor would write me and say, well, you're going to get an email in about a week from the copy editor. And I'd go like, well, okay. I didn't want to say it to him. I was such a neophyte. I thought, well, what's a copy editor? I had to go look it out.
Yeah.
And then, each person that came along sort of had a lot to do with whether it was the design of the book, or I had to go and find the photo, which is on the cover. This photo, this right here. This was from like the 1980s. I think I was 30 in this picture. And I had to find the original copy of that. So I had to have my lawyer call the record company that I was signed to that took the photo, because they own the photo. It's just interesting. By the way, while I'm looking at this book, I want to show you some of these very cool photos. I have lots of really fun photos in the book with a lot of the people that I worked with. Do you want to see some of this?
Absolutely.
It
Absolutely.
would be hard to see, really, but there's Don Johnson. There's a whole chapter that with him, because I worked with him. There's Rod Stewart, and of course Tina, and that's Nancy Wilson from Heart. And then there's Bon Jovi, When His Hair Was Still Long, and Steven Tyler. And this is Kathy Valentine. I was in Italy with her from the Go-Go's. There's all kinds of fun photos, and I'm kind of amazed that I even had this many photos, because I was always very shy about taking photos with the famous people I worked with. I didn't want them to think that I was fangirling out on them, So I very rarely would ask them. And so most of the photos had to be restored from old, Polaroids that were like 30 years old or 40 years old or whatever, but they're there. And I always love looking at the photos inside books. It's like the first thing I go to before I read it,
Is to see, but that's really cool. When did you start writing the book, and how long did it take for you, Holly?
I'd say it took about 2 years. I mean, the
Did it?
pandemic happened, so everybody sort of became insular, and I was home a lot anyway. And I was kind of, I've been writing for so long. I really I didn't feel like writing songs. So I was able to devote this, like, this is my project. And I'd also, a few years before that, I wanted to do a musical with my catalog of songs. And it was hard to get financing. It was hard to find the right writers to attach to the book. So I got pretty far, but then I decided I'm just going to stop this for now and regroup later with that. And then someone said, well, why don't you write a book first? And if the book does well, then you could do anything you want with the book. So that's kind of like in the works now. There are other things that are going to come out of writing this book,
That's
which I'm very
really,
excited about.
yeah, that's, could there be a documentaries, movies? Yeah,
All
that's
of
why
the above.
the TV guy in me is thinking about
Yeah.
that, and that is fantastic. That is very, very exciting. We'll be first in line for that. Cool stuff. How did the relationship with Aerosmith come your way? Again, we want people to get the book, but maybe just a
Right.
little brief.
That's a really funny and really good chapter. You know, what happened with Steven when I met him and all that. But I actually got a phone call from his A&R guy. His name was John Kolodner, and he was really good at putting people together. And the special thing about John was that he was so good at taking bands that maybe, other people would sort of put them out to pasture, and he would just scoop them and say, no, you're too talented. You have too much going for you. He did this with a lot of a lot of bands, and Aerosmith was one of them. And he sent me a song which they had written, which he thought was a potential hit, but wasn't in its present form, and asked me if I would want to work on it. And that was Ragdoll, which originally was called Ragtime. And then I flew up to Vancouver to work with Stephen on the song, and he recorded the vocal while I was standing there staring at him through the booth. It was a pretty amazing experience, but that's like a really actually very funny chapter what happened with that. And he was just absolutely adorable. I mean, of all the people that I've worked with, I mean, he was in some ways one of the more legendary ones to me, because I grew up listening to Aerosmith, and they were kind of at that point, they were kind of, I don't want to say over, but they had done so many drugs and been so destructive, and they weren't making the kind of music they had made originally. And then when, at the time that I worked with them, they had all cleaned up and they had just gotten a new record deal. And that's when they made Permanent Vacation. And it was a whole new era for them. So I didn't care if they sold a single record copy. I just wanted to work with him and Joe Perry and, you know, the whole band really. So that's what happened with that.
That is so cool. How did Heart come along? I think that's really cool that you had an opportunity to work with Heart. And actually, Steve Bird, who's also a huge fan, he writes, Holly Knight, thanks for helping to reinvigorate one of my favorite bands, Heart, with Never back in 1985.
Well, that was a similar thing. In fact, John Kalodner was A&Ring that band as well. And that's why I first met him, because I was working with Heart. I basically got a call from Trudy Green, who was their manager, who interestingly enough became Aerosmith's manager or Steven Tyler's manager after that. So there's a lot of 6 degrees of separation. But I was invited down to a rehearsal. They were rehearsing new songs for the record that they were working on, which was the record that I ended up writing Never for, and another song called All Eyes. And then after that, I worked on maybe 2 or 3 records after that with them also. But I became really friendly and really close with them because, you know, we were sort of like an anomaly. There weren't a lot of rock chicks. So when we met, we just instantly sort of gravitated towards one another, you know, and we had some really fun times working together on a lot of those records.
Do you stay in touch with a lot of these folks that you've had an opportunity to work with over the years? The ones, you know, they're still here doing their thing, or maybe they're retired, whatever they're doing. Do you stay in touch? You guys stay in touch?
I do. You know, actually, a lot of times, like we lose touch, but then we get
Yeah.
back in touch, and we either remember why we stopped talking to each other, or we go, God, we're just picking up from where we left off. So, you know, like I emailed Gene Simmons from Kiss back and forth, and Paul Stanley, you know, we text each other, and Patti Smythe just emailed me today because I'm trying to get her to sing at the Cutting Room. And so, you know, it's just interesting when we look at each other and we go like, holy cow, it's like 35 years now. It's like, what happened? It was like, boom, like in the blink of an eye.
New
You know,
York
a lot of
minute.
us, most of us have had kids. Some of them have grandkids. I don't, but some of them have grandkids. And then there's some, like I said, you know, we lost touch. And, you know, it's an interesting thing I wrote about it in the book because, you know, you kind of have to know when you're getting close with them that it can either be for the moment or it can be the real thing, and you don't know, and you have to sort of protect your heart in a way because like everybody says I love you babe, you know, but it's really the test of time that some of them have stood out and stayed friends, and others not so much, but you can't personalize it. It's just the way it is, you know.
Right.
I'm sure you've met people in your life you're super close to, and then something happens, and then you're not talking, not because you're mad, but just life takes you in different directions, you know. And
Right.
certainly when you're successful. Like I knew when I was working with Steven, I mean, when I first met him and I was talking to him, I said in the book, it's like we were talking for 2 weeks every day for like 3 or 4 hours. And I knew that was a rare moment because I thought if this record takes off, that's it. He's going to be gone in a New York minute.
Yeah.
And it won't be personal. He'll just get, you know, he's going to ride that wave and life will take them away. And, then we ran into each other. We were both inducted into the Songwriters Hall of Fame the same year. In fact, a lot of the people that were, not that there's so many, but many of the people that were inducted that year, I've written hits with. Lou Gramm from Foreigner, he
Mm.
had a big hit. We had a big hit called Just Between You and Me, which is one of my favorite songs. He was there. Bernie Taupin was there. I've written many songs with him. He wasn't inducted. He'd already been inducted, but they were there, him and Elton, to get a special award. So I got to see them. Then there was Steven Tyler. So it was crazy. It was kind of like a rock and roll high school reunion, only
Yeah.
it wasn't high school that brought us together,
Yeah.
And I pinch myself even now. This happened when I was writing the book. Like, is this my life I'm writing about, or am I writing about some fantasy character? And then I go, no, the songs are there. This all happened. And I had to sort of go through the process of remembering things too. Or I would call up, say, like the guitarist Keith from Spider, and say, how did this happen? Or when did we do this? When did we get signed? So sometimes I had help trying just to remember things,
What is it like for you when you are flipping through the dial or you're walking into a store or anything, and all of a sudden a song that you're responsible for pops on? That has to be a very cool, and then maybe you even see people start moving and, liking it. Oh, I love that song. And you're there shopping in Macy's, or
Mhm.
you're just listening to it on the radio, supermarket or whatever happens. Or you go to a party and they're playing it. What is that feeling like for you? It's something that's really exclusive. The artist, of course, has their feeling, but as
Mhm.
one of the people penning the music, the song, what is that feeling like for you? It's got to be very gratifying or very
It's
cool.
incredibly gratifying.
Tingles.
Yeah, I mean, I remember decades ago when Obsession was having a big hit, and I remember I was parked at a light, and there was a convertible next to me of these two really cute boys, young men, if you will, and they were singing all the lyrics, and they were pointing to each other, and they were just like going crazy with this song, and God, I wanted so badly to say to them, I wrote that song, and I thought they would look at me and say, "Yeah, right, sure." But so a lot of times it's a private moment. Or I'll be in the grocery store with someone, like a friend, and the song will come on. They play my stuff to death in grocery stores.
Yeah.
Um, and and I'll be with one of my friends, and they'll just look at me and wink, and and then they'll go, "Isn't that cool?" And we'll go, "Yeah, it's pretty cool." It's a
Yeah.
private moment because there's a lot of times I want to shout from the rooftops to anybody that'll listen. That's my song. I
It's
never get
me.
tired of hearing it. I never get tired of being excited. I remember the very first time I heard a song on the radio and just went out of my mind and was screaming and calling everybody, turn on the radio. We're on WNEW, or what, it was a New York station.
Oh
When
yeah.
when
Eddie W.
Spider, we had our first single was top 40. And so the first time we heard it, it sounded so good on the radio with the compression and everything. It hit me like, this is really happening.
Yeah.
Um, so when I look
Yeah.
back on it now, I just feel a lot of, you know, gratitude and pride
Yeah.
because I did that, and I did it. I love doing what I do, and I'm one of the lucky ones that gets to make a really good living, if I might say,
Absolutely. Doing
doing
it.
what I love to do. You know,
Right, exactly, and well earned
I've
too.
done it for free, so it's a good thing I was successful because it turned out I didn't have to.
Right, and the legacy's there that this music lives on forever, and are you still writing? You're still
Oh,
creating? Yeah.
yes, I have a new group that I wrote a lot of songs for that. They're called La Crush, and we just put out our first single,
Oh,
which is on
congratulations.
iTunes, and it's
Cool.
pretty edgy. It's pretty explicit, but
Yeah, yeah,
so are the times.
yeah.
But so yes, no, I am. I've actually, I've just written one of the best songs. The last two songs I've written are probably some of the best work I've done. So I continue to do it, but I don't do it. It's something that Bruce Springsteen said, and I totally resonate with it. I saw him on the Howard Stern. He did an interview with Howard Stern. That's amazing. But he said, Howard asked him, "Do you write? Do you go in and write every day?" And he said, "No." And it's like, no, I don't either. I mean, I think you need to live life to have something to write about. And so I only do it when I feel like it. And I try not to write bad songs anymore. So if I go in and it's not happening that day, or I'm just going in circles, I just stop and I live to write another day. I go out and ride my bike on the beach or something,
So you take a
because
breath and sort of
yeah,
detach. And sometimes when you get that time to do that, you come back refreshed with a whole new perspective, maybe even on the song.
absolutely.
We
You need to live life to have something to write about, so you need to put yourself out there.
Absolutely. We were graced with having a couple of times Melissa Manchester with us, and she mentioned, I asked her, how are you inspired to write the music too? And she said, well, sometimes it comes at a minute's notice or no notice at all. I'll be walking across, my living room, and all of a sudden, or waking up out of a sleep, and I'll be hit with something. And she would always say, she then has to run to the piano, and she's got a recorder sitting right next to the piano. She presses record right away and just starts working it out. Whatever is coming through her, whatever that source of inspiration is, she's working it out, recording it, because the longer you wait, and if you say, I'll get back to that later, it sort of wears off. How about for you? Do you get hit sometimes with a source of inspiration? You could be walking down the street, you can be on a plane, you could be in a store, life is happening around you, and you're getting these influences happening, this inspiration. Do you have to run to, some people have an app on their phone and they start doing it on their phone to save
Yeah,
it? How does,
that's what I do. I
yeah,
just turn on, I have a voice record app, and I sing the idea in. And, it happens to me so much where I come up with ideas that sometimes I keep singing them in my head, and I have pretty good recall. So I usually remember a lot of them. But no, there is definitely a danger that if you don't capture it in some form, it's it's evasive
fleeting.
and elusive, and that's it. It's gone.
Yeah. I've got to mention too, and again, here is the book, folks. You're going to want to get it. It is definitely a page turner, can make a great gift as well. She has it. Isn't that great? Her holding the book.
Great stocking stuffer.
You know,
It
you
was
talk,
me 30 years ago.
and I'm saying, look, folks, she looks exactly the same.
Well, I wouldn't say exactly, but I think you can tell we're the same person.
Right, yeah.
I'm a lot older.
Some people, right, exactly. They hold up the book and it's something completely
Is that
different.
you? Oh, that's the worst thing if someone looks at a picture of you when you were younger and they go,
And they say
"That's
that, right?
you?"
Right. Don't you love when people
Oh,
say
I
that?
hate that.
Usually they'll say, there's the door over there.
Right,
I know.
right,
It's like, thanks for stopping by. But
yeah.
um, television, movies, I mean, Glow, how did this happen for you?
I have to say that I've aligned myself with a fabulous, independent publishing company called Primary Wave. They are probably the most successful publishers in the world that are independent now, and their whole thing is, acquiring and, doing tasteful exploitation, I guess. I don't like the word exploit, but, they've gotten me just amazing covers, and they got the Glow show for me. They got me a T-Mobile, commercial for the best. I don't know if you've
Yeah.
seen it.
Yes. So oh,
They
that's
got
you, huh?
Stranger Things. I just got they
Yeah,
just got
Stranger
me.
Things too.
Yeah,
We had one of the actors
Schitt's
from
Creek.
there.
I mean, that was on 3 times. Schitt's Creek, different
Yes,
seasons of it.
that too. To be,
Yeah,
yeah.
they did all that.
So yeah, Glow and Stranger Things. We had one of the actors, the kid actors from Stranger Things on recently. That's a very popular series on Netflix. Glow,
And it's so
popular.
80s.
This,
They're all 80, well, not so much Schitt's Creek, but, they're very 80s, so the music just is a perfect marriage with it.
and this, the title song is "You" with Still Standing, huh?
Yeah, I wrote that one. They actually gave me a script for that. I also did that with another TV show called, Angel, which was the spinoff from Buffy and the Vampire Slayer. I
That's
mean, this
right.
right, this vampire lived in, I think it was LA, and he was more sort of urban and modern and older. Um, so I wrote that one, as well.
That was
Which,
popular too. And Mad Max also,
yeah,
movie too.
yeah.
That yeah, what was
I
it
love
like?
the opening track for that. I have a great story in the book about that, with a song I wrote called "One of the Living," and it's the opening track in the movie. And I had not met Tina before that, which isn't unusual because, a lot of times when you write a song, you never meet the artist. You just sort of wave goodbye to your song, like you just put your song up for adoption and
And that's it.
waving goodbye.
Yeah. Is that hard? Is that sometimes hard when it's your baby from the beginning to the end, and then you're sort of putting it up for adoption? Like you say, it's a good analogy, and then it goes off into other
Yeah, and
places
then
in the hands.
you hope that whoever adopts it doesn't screw it up. But
Right.
you hope it gets raised
That's it.
properly.
Right to the point. That's it. That's
Yeah,
exact. Yeah.
that's me. That's me. I'm very to the point. But
That's
anyway,
great.
no, it's not hard because
Yeah.
when I made a decision to be a songwriter, that's the whole point, is to give it to someone else who has, the vocal chops or whatever to do it. I mean, if I had had the vocal chops of Ann Wilson or Tina Turner, I would have been a singer, But I just knew that my strength lay in. That's not to say I can't sing. I mean, I've sung backups. I sung backups standing 2 inches away from Tina Turner for One of the Living, and played every song, every instrument on that track except the guitar, um, which was my guitarist Gene Black from Device, who's amazing. But I sung backups for Rod Stewart. In fact, on Love Touch, I sung the backups before he sung the lead vocal, which is
Oh,
kind
no
of a little
idea.
bit Black
Yeah.
Asteroids. But so I do sing, but I'm not a front person lead singer. Much as I'd like to be, I'm quite happy with, being behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And um,
Yeah.
this has even been hard, like writing a book and then being on camera talking
Chatting
about
about
it.
it.
I'm used
You
to
are
being
a
on camera.
pro now. This is yeah, you're doing well, I try to make it warm and comfortable and easy, and I tell everybody my style, even in my professional work in television and radio, I really like not interviews per se. I like conversations because I think people, even the viewers and those who are consuming what we're talking about, I think they feel more connected. They've been commenting. All our lovely viewers from around the world have been commenting and raving about your music and just loving what you do and who you are. They're getting the book too, they said. I think conversations like Carson and Cavett, some of the others, for me, is the style that I like. It's warmer, it's more relatable
Mm.
for, the guests, feels more comfortable. And it's just, yeah, I know no other way too. It's just something that comes naturally for me. Like what you do comes so beautifully and naturally for you. So you've done good, kid, in many respects. Here's another one, 13 going on 30. People remember that too, huh? Wrote the music for that as well.
Yeah, that they actually filmed the whole scene around Love is a Battlefield. So they were showing the video in the movie on the TV. And then Jennifer Gardner was singing it to all her little girlfriends, even though she was a grown up, because in her mind, she was still a little girl.
Yeah.
And they were all then they mimicked the video. They got up and they were dancing to the video in the movie. So it was an interesting scene. Yeah, when they work the song into the movie, you get paid more too, as opposed to it being source music or in the background. When it's a part of the scene, it's much nicer.
You also have a great friendship with Elvira as well, right?
I do. She's a longtime friend, one of my closest friends for 30 years, 35 years. And I wrote a chapter about her as well, in the book. And we've worked together as well. I've produced a couple of her monster hits. Um,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
she's wonderful.
So many people. I mean, Hawk Nelson.
Do you know that group?
Yes, and I was surprised. I had forgotten that you had any sort of connection with it, but wow. Tell us about that. Is that in there too, or what's
No,
the
no,
deal?
because
Yeah,
I on this book I focused on just that time period of MTV.
but this
And
was cool to see this, to
yeah, this
realize this.
happened years later. This was like,
Yeah,
yeah, probably in the last 10 years, I think.
yeah. Really, really cool. Bonnie Tyler, of course.
Well, she recorded the best. I did not work with her. She actually recorded the best before Tina, and by the time it got to Tina, it didn't really do that well in Europe. But by the
Yeah.
time it got to Tina, she called me up and just said, I love this song and I want to cut it, but you have to make some changes, which you'll have to read about in the book. I'm not going to
Yeah.
give that one away because it's
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
really good story. But I did. I rewrote the song and re-registered it for her, and which is the only time I've ever had to do that with a song that had already been out with another artist.
Yeah. Cool. Cool stuff. Again,
Yeah.
it's all in the book, folks. You mentioned briefly Device. We got a couple of quick, cool photos here with Device. Tell us about Device.
That was my own personal band. You know, I'd been in a
Yeah.
band before, and I loved performing. I didn't love all the other stuff about being in a band, but I loved
Right.
performing. And I just wanted to be able to make a record that was more sort of just artistically daring and the sort of things that maybe I wouldn't necessarily write for someone else. So I set about putting the band together, and I played the bass in the band as well as the keyboards. Uh, and it took me a really long time to find a singer. And you know, you really sort of, I can't get into right now
Yeah.
why I didn't make a second record, but it's all in the book.
It's all in the book. Yeah.
Um, but I'm very, very proud of that record. And I mean, who knew? But we have almost 1 million fans now on YouTube because um, the videos just get played all the time. And people are asking me, like, why aren't you making any records? Why did you stop doing that? And we just, you know, I have people show up at gigs with like the Device record and a silver pen, and they're asking me to sign it and stuff. And
Yeah.
so probably the first song we had a single that was called "Hanging on a Heart Attack." I'm gonna re-record that song. I just decided that in the last week or so that it's probably a good idea because it still sounds very current. You know, even
Yeah.
though 40 years ago I think we were ahead of our time, and it was also very musically like sophisticated. So, um, yep,
That is so cool. That is great, huh? I mean, this is really amazing when you think about all the material and 40 years, and we really just scratched on the surface because there's so much more and so many more people that you've gotten through the opportunity to work with. And again, all right there in the book. The audio version of the book is out as well. There's a couple of photos. This photo is fantastic. You look just so at ease, at home, and content. This shot as well.
it's right
Um,
in that's the same
is
wall
that
that I'm
where
sitting
you are
on.
now?
Yes.
Tell us about this phenomenal room that you're in. It's and all the glory behind you.
Um, it's it's my temple, you know, it's a 3-car garage that I converted into a studio. And uh I'm sitting at my piano, my grand piano, and uh I've got my Pro Tools rig and lots of keyboards and guitars, and it's a great room to work in. It's sort of been an aperture for energy. So every time someone comes in here, the mojo builds up a little bit more. So anytime anybody walks into the room, it's like they can feel like something very comfortable and warm. It's almost like, you know, when you smell chocolate chip cookies in the house and they're cooking, it's like imagine like a musical version of that walking into this room, and
How
people can
cool
feel
is
it.
that?
So
Yeah.
yeah.
And that really helps you to do what you do, right? Having sort of that calming, grounding atmosphere through the chaos of the nuttiness of life and pandemics and all the stuff going on, to have this sort of safe space you've created to
Mhm.
be able to then really focus and create all this fabulous music for all of us, huh?
Yeah, yeah, it's my, like I said, it's my temple. It's the place I go. It's actually called the Jewel Box.
Oh,
I've been
cool.
calling my studio the Jewel Box for many, many years, and, it's the place where I go mining for gems.
And creating them. Do you have, it's probably a very difficult question only because they're all your babies. They're like your children, like you mentioned, giving them off for adoption. Are there a few songs that are just your personal favorites, even if they, weren't as big as some other songs that the public has really loved? Are there a few songs that for you are your personal faves?
Yeah, one of them is actually Invincible, which Benatar recorded. I just think that that song is quintessentially me, because it's edgy, it's anthemic, it's a crusade song, fighting for, your rights. It's an empowering song, I think,
Yeah.
especially from a woman's point of view.
Yeah.
What's interesting is like I wrote this book from the perspective of a woman, and I fully expected women to resonate and love the book, which they do. But what I'm really delighted to see is how much my male friends that are like rock and rollers and rock
Or
stars are loving this book. And they're texting me going, I can't put this down. I've sent them to a few that are in the book too. And so far, I haven't offended anybody, and people are loving it. So we'll see.
the response so far has been really amazing. Have you been surprised by it at all?
Uh, I'm pleasantly surprised.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everybody hopes when you put something out there that people are going to like it. And believe me, I've gone through the whole gamut. I've had to develop a pretty tough skin over the years because, as I say in the book, you go through everything from it's a hit, it's not a hit. I love it, not loving it. It's too commercial, it's not commercial enough, or it's too pop, it's not pop enough. Until finally someone says, I want to cut it. So I'm just really like, I'm just waiting for someone to say they don't like it. But so far, not one person. I mean, everybody's been texting me, oh my God, it's so good. I can't put it down. And it's like, we'll see, I'm always interested to see what people think. Go out and buy the book.
Yeah.
You can buy it on any of the book platforms and, or the
Exactly.
audiobook or the ebook.
Amazon and Barnes and Noble, all the rest, and your website too, right there, hollyknight.com, which I was telling Holly before we went live, because we always chat with the guests, a few minutes before we go live, sound check and everything. Her website is fantastic. It's like watching a movie. I mean, it's just extraordinary how, and she did it. She created the website herself, and it's like a production unto itself. It's so beautifully done. So hats off to you, not only on the book, but your website, hollyknight.com, is fantastic. And that leads people to the other, places they can go. Is there something linked tree or linked something that has like,
Yes.
yeah, tell
Yes,
us.
I have a link tree that if you go to that website and you right in the middle, there's a green thing that looks like a tree.
Yeah.
My friend turned me onto this, and it's amazing because if you hit that, it goes to another page that shows all these different, like you just click on any one of them. So I have like, for instance, I have a YouTube Holly Knight channel. I have
Right.
an Apple page. I have a Spotify page. I have the website. I have all the different events. Like if you want to go to the cutting room, you just click on the link and it'll take you right to where the tickets are. So it's all in just one place, which is fantastic.
That is so cool. That is really, really
Yeah, I think the
cool.
link tree is something like at Holly Knight Songwriter or something like that.
Cool. So if
Yeah.
they go there and they click on that little tree icon, it'll bring them to all of that, which is awesome. Congratulations on everything. Can I
Thank
just
you, Jim.
personally thank you, because
Aw,
the music that you have been responsible for writing, co-writing, really has stuck with us all and will for years to come. And when you hear it, wherever you hear it, I still have my I still have my Onkyo turntable, and I have the KLH
oh,
speakers and
wow,
the double cassette
awesome.
decks and all that cool stuff. Um, you are responsible for, years and years of incredible music. And I know it takes a village. There's teams of folks working with you, and there's other musicians, and there's the artists themselves who I'm sure really appreciate what you do. Other writers with you as well on some of them. And just thank you so very much. And we expect lots more from you. What are the continued blessings and joys after all these years and all of this incredible material, the continued blessings and joys in your life, Holly, that still propel you forward. You could easily say, you know what? I'm good. 40 plus years, I've been here, there, and everywhere. I could really be in a hammock, swinging back and forth with a banana colada in this hand and my feet in the sand in South Beach, Miami. But instead, you still are out there. You're still connected. You're still producing. You're still doing your thing. What are some of those blessings and joys that keep you doing that for the good of all of us?
I just love what I do, and it's sort of like if you ask anybody, you look at someone like Tony Bennett, he's 95, and it never stops. You never stop. Your body might get older, you might get older, but inside you're still just as young as ever. I think rock and roll and music has kept me young, and I'm pretty healthy, um, and I'm just, I I like to operate now more from a place of love. I think I was very feisty with a chip on my shoulder when I was younger. So in one way, it's good because, you know, uh, I can write things that are positive, more songs maybe like the best, but at the same time, um, I'm not so, edgy and not trying so hard. I mean, that's a part of being,
Yeah.
getting young.
In our youth, we're trying to conquer
And
it all, do it all, and be it all, right, for
yeah.
everybody. Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know. You were describing lying in a hammock with a pina colada, and that sounds pretty good
Yes,
to me right
South
now.
Beach,
I
right
would give
about now.
anything to be doing that right now. I really need to do that. I mean, the pandemic, I just stopped traveling because I am dying to travel, and I
How
also
did
do.
you get through it? How did you what did you
I
were
wrote
you
the book.
writing? Well, the book was,
Yeah.
yeah, the labor
And
of
I'm
love.
used to I'm sort of, like, isolated. I work out of my studio anyway, so, like, unlike a lot of people that were used to going to work, for me, it really wasn't that different. It's just now
Yeah,
everybody else was staying home and not coming here, Um,
exactly. Do
but
you produce for other people too? Do you produce for other artists?
I do, and as I said, the band La Crush is
Right.
something that I produce, and I've been producing for years, but, again, that's something I talk about in the book,
Yeah,
that
that's
is
cool.
just really it's still a man's world on so many levels as far as being given opportunities to women that it always goes to the men and um, things maybe have gotten a little better but not really not
That's
even back. Yeah, if anything, in some ways I think we've gone back a few steps, but that's another conversation.
That's a whole other absolutely. I know
Yeah.
the industry has changed greatly in so many ways. Now you have streaming and you do have Spotify and you've got social media. Has that been a positive for you think?
Social media is
And
a double-edged sword.
yes, it is.
It's brilliant for your career, but I think it's become too much of a place for people to vent their venom and their hatred when it comes to politics and, things like
Yeah,
that. It's good and bad. I try to only use it for my work, um,
yeah,
and not get too personal about my personal life or
yeah.
my political views or
Smart.
whatever,
That's the
because
way
it's
to
a
be.
no-win situation.
Yeah. And then streaming too. That's a whole new way of distributing the music is the streaming.
I know,
Yeah.
and I really miss records because, we don't get liner notes anymore, and there's a lot of people that contribute to a record that don't get credit. I don't get credit as a songwriter. Used to be, on vinyl records, your name had to go on each song. And then
Yeah.
there's the musicians and the person that does the photography and the artwork and, the producers and the engineers and the assistant engineers. Like, nobody gets any credit anymore because of that.
Right. Exactly. Exactly right. This was really fantastic, Holly. You truly are the best. And I really appreciate the time
Thank you
and
for having me.
yeah, and the phenomenal conversation. And there are a lot of people that are saying they're going to buy the book, which is fantastic.
Great.
Are there some folks that you would love to work with, collaborate with now that are
Oh,
out there?
yes.
Yeah.
Yes. In fact, I'm hoping that somehow the book does well enough that they are it's funny because, even being in the Songwriters Hall of Fame, it doesn't make it easier as far as, if there are certain artists that I wanna work with. There's just such a wall, like a moat of handlers and people that
Mhm.
you have to get through. And even then, it's very, very hard. So I'm hoping that they pick up the book and go, Jesus, I really should be working with Holly Knight.
Yes.
But definitely one of them would be Lady Gaga, and Adele would be another one. Um, I would have loved to have worked with Amy Winehouse.
Oh, yes. Yeah,
Fan of
yeah. A
hers.
friend of mine, family friend of mine, who we lost this year. Boy, when they do that in memoriam segment at the end of the year, there's so many people this year that we've lost. But Ronnie Spector, very close friend from the Ronettes,
Really? Yeah.
and Amy really revered her and patterned a lot of what she did after Ronnie, and she was fantastic. Candy Apple Blue says, I always believed that Holly Knight would be a great fit for Cher. Could you ask Holly if she ever wanted to write for Cher? And is there anybody that you wish that you wrote for? Interesting question. Thanks, Candy Apple
I've
Blue.
actually played on one of her records uh, years ago, which was, she had one record where there were different people producing, and John Bon Jovi asked me to come down and play on the record. And I played on Bang Bang. She did a remake of that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But I never actually wrote for her or anything.
And just even working with John Bon Jovi, I mean, God, the amount of hits and just his incredible career that still continues today is unreal. I want you to show you a couple of cool things. Ms. Pat in Texas, done. She's listening to the audio version of the book. She's going to be doing that. She's getting the audio version. Thanks, Ms. Pat in Texas, and Sherry's in Kansas, USA. Thank you, Holly, for being with us here tonight. What an amazing career so far. That's good. I love that. And so much more to come. Best wishes in the future. Steve Bird, such a great show. I want to buy the book. Thank you, Steve. That's fantastic. You will thoroughly enjoy it. Thanks, Holly. You're such a talented songwriter. Merlin, watching in Ontario, Canada. Kathleen in the old stomping grounds there in New York City. Thank you for being here, Holly. Great conversation. Maureen in Arizona. You've had such an amazing career, Holly. I hope you have continued success. Jane watching in Sweden. Thank you, talented Holly, for being here tonight. Thanks, Jim. Thank you, everybody, for these wonderful comments. And this was really terrific. Best of the holidays to you and your family, Holly. I hope the show met whatever expectations you had and you enjoyed the time with me as much as I absolutely have with you on this episode of the show.
I did. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. Continued blessings and joy in your life. Keep making the fabulous music for us. And congratulations on the book. We're going to tell people again how they can get the book. And do you see another book in the offing, possibly, now that you got this one down? Is that an actual, you are a published author now.
I know.
Congratulations.
It's so exciting.
Yeah.
I do see another book, which I've actually started working on, which would be more like a grimoire coffee table book, which would have all my sheet music, all the correct lyrics, because I got to tell you, when I've gone online and I've had to look up my lyrics sometimes, some of them, what people think the lyrics are, have been really hilarious. But maybe with some photography, because I do photography, and little notes and doodles, and also quite a bit of tips on songwriting. So it's going to be kind of like a potpourri of fun stuff.
Love
But
that.
that'll be down the road.
That's down the road.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Anyway, to everybody, thank you for listening, and
Oh.
have a wonderful Christmas or Hanukkah, or just holidays, whatever you celebrate.
Beautifully said, my friend. Beautifully said. The best to you and your family. Let's definitely stay in touch. And I loved having you here, gracing us with your wit and
Anytime.
wisdom and your presence. You are the best. Thank you, Holly. Take care and be well. Okay. We'll chat again soon.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Incomparable Holly Knight here on the show, responsible for so much music, generations of music, 40 plus years. And again, originally from New York, she's out there in LA. And I think that's just a really terrific opportunity to celebrate, as we have, the extraordinary work of a true icon in the music business. Somebody, as you can see, which I said in the beginning of the show, she's very humble. She likes to go into that, that jewel box room there, and she's surrounded by all of the wonderful things that make up what she does. That warm sort of chocolate chip. I love the way she described that chocolate chip cookies coming out of the oven feeling that she has in the converted garage there. Um, but she is an icon in the industry, responsible for some of the biggest hits that we have heard and continue to hear. And she's penning more music, and she's working with so many. And it's really extraordinary when you think about it, huh? The songwriter behind some of pop culture's most iconic songs. And we really just scratched the surface. What we talked about tonight isn't everything. This was just what we could fit into the time we have. Um, but really, she's very humble and very gracious. And she's talked about, how she's evolved as a person through the years as well. She's, as much as she is a brilliant songwriter, she is a talented musician and performer herself, vocalist extraordinaire. You can find her music too, on Spotify and all the usual places as well. Yeah, she's got, all of her music out as well. And then we talked about some of the groups through the years. There's Device, there's Spider. She talked about that, the very first group. You can hear her music on some of your favorite, movies and shows, TV shows, and so much more, which is really incredible. And these are just a few of many. Of course, Stranger Things, very popular on Netflix, Still Standing, that was on CBS, Mad Max, yeah, Mel Gibson, Tina Turner. She had a great story about this. If you want to know about all of these incredible things we talked about and a lot more, The Warrior, Patti Smythe, and Aerosmith, working with John Bon Jovi and many others. Incredible relationship with Tina Turner, penning a lot of her music. Elvira and Hart and Pat Benatar. Yeah, she wrote Lovers at Battlefield. Everybody knows that one, loves that one as well. Rod Stewart, another one. Love Touch. You can hear that right now, right? Love Touch. Yeah. I tell you, it's good stuff, right? And really terrific icon, but a humble one, which is refreshing. It's very refreshing in this industry. Wow. Thanks for all these comments, too. We're going to take a look at a few of the comments. We want to make mention, as we mentioned earlier, hollyknight.com is her website. There is a little tree icon there, and that's the link tree that you can go to and brings you to Apple and all the other locations for her material. But let's show you the cover of the book again. There it is. Of course, The Warrior is the song written for Patti Smythe, but she is the warrior herself. I am the warrior. And cool story about the cover and how she was able to get, the cover, that photo, which was on one of the albums, as a promotional photo there, to be able to use it for the cover of the book. This is her very first book. She's excited that she is now a published author. Of all the material that she's written, she is a published author now, which is really cool. Look at her surrounded by all of there's a lot of gold there and silver and platinum. And what a very nice person and a true delight, a music icon, a treasure. Love celebrating this with all of you, gang, when we have fabulous people that come through. Every guest we have, whether they're a well-known celebrity or somebody behind the scenes, regardless of, what category of life they're involved in, they don't have to be in music or television or Hollywood or stage or any of that. They can just be somebody that stops by to say hi. Everybody is welcomed here and valued at the Jim Masters Show Entertainment Lifestyle Variety Talk Show series. And today, celebrating the incomparable material and the legend of Holly Knight here on the Jim Masters Show. During the holiday season, too, she wished me and all of you blessed and joyful Merry Christmas and Happy Hanukkah, which we really appreciate her doing. There again is the book. Look for that. There's an audio version available as well. She mentioned loving Invincible, of course. Pat Benatar. So many songs. I mean, it's just. I bet you didn't know that, right? You probably didn't know that Holly was responsible for writing or co-writing so much of this material. She remembers this as well, too. She talked a lot about this. Also talks about all of this in the book. And cool stories. The book really is a page turner. She showed us a few photos, too, from the book. She held up the book. If you missed anything in this episode, you can easily go back and you can see it on our YouTube channel, Jim Masters TV. That's where this entire episode is archived. And you can share the YouTube episode links on your social media. We thank those of you who have been doing that. We thank you for all of your comments on the YouTube channel. We thank you for your emails, your tweets, your texts, all of the messages and all the love that you share on our Facebook. You can find me at Jim Masters TV on Facebook. We also have the Lovity Hall group on Facebook, the Jim Masters Show Lovity Hall group on Facebook for this show, as well as my pages, which are Jim Masters TV on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Follow and like and all the rest. Our YouTube channel is Jim Masters TV. Show it some lovity, subscribe, click the notification bell so you never miss any of the incredible episodes. That means a lot to us. And thanks to those of you who have been doing super chat, super emoji, super stickers. That's something you can do in the chat room when the show is live. And there's different levels there that YouTube has created. And we reached a certain milestone where we're able to offer that to you. And that helps, support the countless hours and episodes, hundreds and hundreds of shows that we have done here and have thoroughly enjoyed doing for all of you, with such a myriad of people coming through. And all of you, many of you, which is really interesting, never knew that each other existed. There's been some friendships that have been made during our show with some of our viewers or our Lovity viewers. And most of you never knew this other person existed until the Jim Masters Show, until April 2020, when I decided to build this set and turn on the lights and just start hosting like I do professionally in television, radio, and creating the show. So there's been this residual of friendships that have been made among viewers. Of course, us with the viewers with us, and with me and with you as well, which is beautiful, and the icing on the cake for me. But some have become friends as a result of the Jim Masters Show. When we turned on the lights and we brought everybody together, there's been some friendships made where many of you have said, I never knew this person was around and I never met her. And so now some of you have become friends as a result of the Jim Masters Show, because we're interactive, which is cool. If I didn't do this chat room thing and I didn't bring you guys into the fold as sort of like our JMS studio audience, which is what you guys pretty much are, a lot of you wouldn't know each other. And that's something else that is the result of what we're doing here, bringing people together and doing it as we celebrate the lost art of conversation with all of you and extraordinary guests who come in from all these different backgrounds and fields of endeavor and levels of success and what have you. So that is something else that many of you have expressed to me. You really have enjoyed, is the fact that all of this lovity has resulted in some really cool friendships. And of course, it all starts right here and then comes out from here, and wherever it lands around the world, that's a bonus, right? Yeah. Boy, am I glad that I turned on the lights 2.5, almost 3 years ago now, hundreds of episodes ago. How cool is that? I want to let you know that if you enjoyed this episode, you can see it again. Please do a couple of things. We would love it if you can, on our YouTube channel, right there, before you go anywhere, click the thumbs up. There is a thumbs up on this episode right there in front of you on the YouTube channel. Give us a thumbs up. That really helps us grow. And definitely leave a comment. Even if you commented in the Lovity chat room, which we appreciate, leave a comment on the YouTube channel, before you go. And on all the episodes you enjoy, because when that happens, YouTube sees that and they blast these episodes out to more people around the world. So you're really helping our show grow when you give us a thumbs up, leave a comment, You share the links on your social media. That helps this whole thing grow. Does take a village. We can only do so much on this end. And we appreciate those of you who've been doing that. That really does help, and duly noted. So give us a thumbs up, leave a comment. And of course, if you haven't, we really welcome you to. And we thank the thousands who have. And every day we get new subscribers who are discovering the Jim Masters Show series, and they're subscribing to the YouTube channel. And we thank you for that. There's no cost when you do that, but you are then part of the JMS Levity family, which I think is really something extra special. It's a cool place to be, Levity Hall, isn't it? That's what we call this place, Levity Hall. And that was just out of me making a blunder when I said light, love, and levity, and I said it too fast, and I said levity. And every day since that day has been filled with all kinds of levity with all of you. Want to show you some really cool things coming up. Very excited. We're very excited about having the incomparable Holly Knight join us, and all the guests who've been with us before. If you've missed any episodes, we've had some really cool people stop by the Jim Masters Show. Tomorrow, we have an incredible celebrity hairstylist. He has won the Emmy for Pose. He is working right now with Jennifer Lopez. He works with Tori Amos. I mean, he is the guy. He is Barry Lee Moe, and he is working with and has worked on some of your favorite shows, television, movies. He has worked with some of the biggest stars. He's working with some of the biggest stars right now. Again, he's the hairstylist for Jennifer Lopez on a big project they're working on. He works all the time with Tori Amos and many, many, many others. We won't say them all now, but he'll be with us tomorrow here exclusively at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, live. Join us. He's going to be coming in from Hollywood. We really look forward to that. That's going to be amazing. On Saturday, oh boy, is he a delight. Jay Rowe is an extraordinary musician, a multi-talented musician. He is an acclaimed contemporary jazz musician, songwriter, music director. He's got a fabulous Christmas CD out that he just sent me, but I've been hearing it on Accu Radio and Spotify and everywhere else. He has worked with some of the biggest names, produced for them. Ken Navarro is one of them. Many, many others. He's actually a great friend. I know Jay personally, but he's an extraordinary musician and a fun guy. He loves life. He's a happy guy. He's going to be with us on Saturday at a special time, gang. That's a little bit earlier. It's an afternoon show, 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific. So for those of you in our international audience, you can join us earlier, because we have folks that watch us throughout the world: Europe, Asia, Africa, Australia, North America, South America. You know, those of you in the later time zones, Saturday, 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific, Jay will be on. He's also going to perform. Yeah, I asked him, hey, do you want to perform? He said, absolutely, for you, Jim, I will, and for your lovely audience. So Jay will be here on Saturday. Again, only the best on JMS, as we always say. Then look who's coming on Sunday. Exclusively. These are all JMS exclusives. The Celtic Tenors. Yes, world-renowned Irish classical crossover trio. Now, this is going to be a special time, gang. So mark your calendars this Sunday. And again, I'm talking to those who are watching our show live. If you're watching this Holly Knight episode 6 months from now, these will have already happened and you can see them all in the archives. But since we're live right now, I'm talking to the live audience. The Celtic Tenors are here this Sunday at the following time, 1 p.m. Eastern. Okay, so it's another afternoon show, a nice Sunday afternoon show for those on the Eastern time zone, which is where we are. We are here in the New York area in the United States. That's where the show comes from. So the Celtic Tenors will be on this Sunday live, 1 p.m. Eastern, which will be... That's 10 a.m. Pacific. Yes, 10 a.m. Pacific. So 1 p.m. Eastern, noon Central, and 10 a.m. Pacific. And for those who are in Ireland and Scotland, the UK, England, That will be 6 p.m. your time. So 6 p.m. in parts of Europe. And then, just check your time zone. If you're watching in Australia, you're watching in other parts in Asia. We have fans in South America who watch the Jim Masters Show live series. Just check your time zone. Again, if you want to be with us live, the show will be archived. So if you're busy, you can see it later in the archives. But I'm very excited to, announce that the Celtic Tenors are joining us, and they are fantastic. Matter of fact, I interviewed two of them on PBS several years ago, PBS television, public television here in the States when they came into the studio. So I'm really excited to, and they used to be called the Three Tenors, you may remember, or the Irish Tenors, I believe, or something along those lines. Well, the Celtic Tenors they are, and they're going to be here. A couple of the guys are going to be with us from the Celtic Tenors. So we look forward to that. That's coming up on Sunday, just for you, gang. Yeah, I mean, great variety, wouldn't you say, of guests from all different backgrounds. Daniel Ross was with us, the extraordinary voiceover artist. Loretta Swit, Melissa Manchester, the Pointer Sisters, on and on and on, extraordinary people. Patty Davis, daughter of Ronald Reagan and Nancy Reagan, were with us as well. She was with us. Jeff Altman, legendary stand-up comedian, magician, actor, 40 times appearing on the David Letterman show. He's going to be joining us real soon. We're excited about him. His episode is going to be epic. All right here for you on the Jim Masters Show series, gang. We're working hard. I'm working really hard behind the scenes, putting all these shows together for you, hosting, executive producing, booking the guests, getting the word out. And this isn't even my full-time job. I have a full-time job in television and radio, several of them, actually, a lot of shows I host. That demands a lot of my time. And thanks for all these great comments from everybody that's been watching. We'll take a quick look, and people will be able to see these in the archives as well. And everybody. And when Holly watches this again, too, because she has the links to be able to watch this again. We welcomed several new folks, and we welcome anybody that has joined us for the very first time. If this is your first time experiencing the Jim Masters Show, well, welcome to Lovety Hall. Welcome to our show. What we do is different. We don't call this a typical interview show. I'm not reading scripted material. We don't pre-prepare questions. We have conversations here. That's right. And you never know where it goes, which I think is really fantastic. Maureen says, "See what you did, Jim? You brought us all together and made us a family. I'm forever grateful to you for that." Thank you, Maureen. Lovely right back at you there in Arizona. Sherry Larson says, "Friendships that will last forever." Thank you for that. Thank you, Sherry. And thank you for being our number one in sending out the links on all your social media. We really thank you. We did that in our Lovety Hall group. We thanked you, and we thank you as well. And Maureen, thank you for when you have done super chat, super emoji, super stickers. You and also Kathleen is our number one right now at the time of today's show person who has done super chat, super emoji, super stickers during the shows. And there's also, there's super thanks. There's a little heart icon on all the episodes. So if you don't get a chance to do that super emoji, super sticker, super chat thing during the show in the chat room, on all the episodes, you'll see a little cute little heart icon. When you click that, you can help support our shows 24/7. Even when the show isn't on live, you're just going to one of the episodes and you're like, I really like what they're doing here. I want to support it. You can support it by clicking the heart icon. So cool stuff, right? Kathleen says, Lovety Hall, my happy and safe place. Always. We'll keep it that way for you, gang. We will always keep it for you that way. Merlin as well here in Canada with her Christmas decorations. Yes, I know you're very excited, as am I. Miss Pat is going to skip her walk on Sunday. I'll be there with bells on. Well, great, Miss Pat. You tell everybody in Texas, tune in, not just on Sunday, of course, every day, every day. We love it. We love it. We love it. Cool stuff. Really, really nice. Good stuff. Yeah. It all started right here when we turned on the lights at the Jim Masters show. That's right. We brought everybody together, and none of you knew who each other were. None of you knew that Merlin didn't know Jane, and Jane didn't know Sherry, and Kathleen didn't know this one, and Joan, and all these people until we turned on the lights, and look what has happened. Cool stuff, huh? Really great. Yeah, it is almost 9 o'clock at night, and we haven't had dinner yet. So I think we may have to have that. I got to be up super early, like 6 a.m. tomorrow. We've got a massive television project and then a multitude of radio shows. And then we've got a great guest coming tomorrow as well. Actually, I said tomorrow, Barry Lee Moe. Barry Lee Moe is on, the celebrity hairstylist. Barry is on Friday. But we do have a very special guest who is with us tomorrow, and I'm very excited. He is a Disney star. I cannot leave without mentioning who this guest is. If you look at our YouTube channel, you can see it right there. You just scroll and you can see who the guest is. Matter of fact, you can take a look and see, who a lot of the guests are coming up. We don't have all of them posted because we're still working on creating their episodes. However, let's see if we can pull this up and maybe show it to you visually. And yeah, let's see if we can pull that up on the screen and we show it to you visually. Let's see here. Here's who's tomorrow's guest is right there. Disney star actor Joaquin Garay III. He was in the movie Herbie Goes Bananas, the popular Disney movie. There he is on the bottom of the screen in the car, the Herbie car in that series. And Harvey Korman, of course, was in that series. And if you want to read about him, whenever you go to this is our YouTube channel, Jim Masters TV, you can see all that we have about, all of our guests right there. How do you like our spiffy new look to our our show there? Cool stuff, new graphics, and we've been spending a lot of money on this show. We're going to have to take out a second mortgage or something. Actor, writer, producer, Joaquin Garay III, one of the incredible Disney stars. His father, too, Joaquin Garay, was a well-known entertainer and radio personality in the 1930s. He's been in hundreds of commercials, films, television, and so much more. And he was in Herbie Goes Bananas, a popular Disney film. He's going to be with us coming up tomorrow on the show, which is really, really exciting. Really exciting. Isn't that cool? That is really, really cool. You know what else is really cool? All of you. We thank you for joining us here on the Jim Masters Show. It's really cool to have all of you here. We appreciate you being with us. And yeah, there we are right there. That's cool. There's all the pages, and that is so cool right there. Peruse and watch and enjoy, because you got all of those cool things there for you on our YouTube channel. All right, gang. Another epic show. Thank you for all the great comments and all the levity, and happy holidays to all of you from all of us at the Jim Masters Show. Merry Christmas, happy Hanukkah, happy Kwanzaa. Hope you guys enjoy our beautiful set. There's George Burns right there. Got some poinsettias there and other decorations. We've got, let's see what else do we have here. We've got the snowman there and the Santa's hat, and there's some gifts here too. You see all the gifts that are over. It's like being a weatherman. All these gifts that are over here. Calm down. There you go. Sometimes the hand just wants to do. And I'm not even right-handed. I'm left-handed. But this hand is just really going at it. And our massive, beautiful Christmas tree there for all of you, gang. Put you in the holiday spirit. If you're not feeling well, not doing well, come join us here at Levity Hall. We always have a good time. And we always do a little interactive chat when we can with all of you. One more time, we thank Holly Knight for joining us. We thank all of you for joining us here. Massive undertaking doing these shows, but man, do I love it. Yeah. I'm going to sleep well when it's Christmas time. Going to sleep in. Can't wait to see family. We're going to be spending time over Christmas and New Year's with our family. We're going to be headed to Florida and enjoy. It's going to be beautiful, sunny weather, and lots of levity. Sending tight, lovely hugs to y'all. May your dreams be sweet. To you as well, Maureen in Arizona. Ms. Pat in Texas, good night. God bless you as well. And everybody, thumbs up, double thumbs up from Kathleen Walker and everybody. These are some of the, if you watch our shows often, you see these names. These are some of our familiar lovities, but we realize there's a lot of you who watch later on. You write to us privately. There's many of you that write to us privately. You don't necessarily always, have your stuff there public like that. So you'll write to us privately and you'll let us know how much you enjoy the series and what it means to you. And I personally thank you. All right, gang. That's it. It's a wrap. That takes care of this episode of the Jim Masters Show. For those watching live, we'll be back tomorrow with Joaquin Garay, the Disney star. He's going to be here tomorrow. Barry Lee Moe on Friday. Renowned celebrity hairstylist. He's working with Jennifer Lopez right now as her hairstylist. Works with Tori Amos, as I mentioned. Jay Rowe, fabulous music Saturday, the Celtic Tenors, and Sunday, and that's just the short list. All right, we're going to wrap for now. For those watching live, we'll see you tomorrow. For those watching Memorex, who are watching this in the archives, stay right here. Another great episode comes up for all of you. And we thank you. Again, if you missed this episode or joined us late, feel free to watch it in the archives. We archive specifically for all of you, all the episodes of the Jim Masters Show series on the YouTube channel. So you can binge watch and you can have a good time and show our series. You got some other friends and family who have never heard about this show, even though we've done it 2.5 years already, which is really hard to believe. Tell them about the show. Don't keep it a secret. Welcome more potential lovities to join us here in Lovity Hall and for all the fun that we have. We don't say goodbye around here. We say see you later. Ciao, cheers. Moi loop. Take care. Be well. Slancha. Hasta la vista. Buenas noches. Shalom. What else? I think we said moi loop, right? And take care. Be well. So we don't say goodbye. We say see you later because we hope to have you back. And of course, relax. Don't forget to relax. Love one another. Take care of one another. And don't forget to RELAX. Relax. And breathe, especially during the holiday season. You got to take a moment or two to relax and enjoy the beauty of the season. It's a beautiful time of the year, gang. So enjoy it with those who are in your Lovity squad. We'll see you on the next one, okay? Jim Masters and company, thanking you for your time this time till next time. We love you all, and we thank you for being with us in this episode of the Jim Masters Show, coming at you live from Lovity Hall. Be well. See you again next time. Cheers.